Your next project, so you've got two sheets, two little property drawings that you're working on tonight. Your next property is going, or your next project is gonna be at the end of chapter 8, P8-5. So go ahead and turn to that real quick. What's up, man?
Oh, I was just needing to borrow one of your printers.
$20.
I think I might have that on me.
Go ahead, man. Go ahead on, Jimmy. Alright, so this is gonna be your next assignment. This will be a 4-sheet assignment. We will talk more about sheet 4 next week when y'all get in so that you can work on that one. But sheet 1 is just gonna be your typical easy property drawing. So on this exercise, or on this P8-5, we're calling it, figure P8-5, you can see that your property is 1,200 feet by 1,200 feet. We're not told a direction, so we've got to assume that all 4 sides are north, south, east, and west sides. They're all either horizontal or vertical. You don't have to do a shot sheet on this one. As you can see, we have elevations there, obviously, and not rod shots. We can't expect them to have a 600-foot long rod that they're out there holding up and reading. So these are obviously the elevations. So we're gonna take that on our first sheet and just do a simple property drawing of it. We've got our legend and our our notes. Our legend and our notes we'll have on there. But this first one is gonna be a simple property drawing. Sheet 2 will be an elevation drawing. So on sheet 2, remember on your previous elevation project, you had your elevation symbol, the circle with the X on it. And then we would put our elevation that we calculated on the previous one. On this one, they're already calculated. We would put the elevations at a 45-degree angle coming off of that symbol. So this is what you have for your elevations. Now you will notice that there is a grid across the top and a grid on the left side. The grid on the left side is what we call stationing. I think I mentioned this to y'all. I used to not understand the purpose or the need of stationing. Now that I work in civil, I can see that yes, there is a purpose, there is a need, and it is very applicable once you get out in the field. But just like on your previous assignment that you did, where you had that property that had a grid horizontally and vertically, it had letters on one side, numbers on the other. Just like on that one, our grid will not print. We're just using that to align our drawing, to position our drawing. Now, I just checked, and this grid, you can do the math and count it up, but the grid is 150 feet. So A to B, B to C, C to D, each one of those are 150 feet. You can tell that also by looking at the stationing on the left side. It starts at the top left corner, 0 plus 0, 0, and then you've got that next stationing below it, 1 plus 50, 3 plus 0, 0. Remember, 1 plus 50 simply means 150 feet. 3 plus 0, 0 means 300 feet, 450. But that's just for us to be able to orient and show our elevation symbols. Your grid does not show, those labels around the outside do not show. So those are standard. We've done a couple of those, I believe. Sheet 3 is a contour drawing. So on sheet 3, whoops, I wrote it by the wrong one. Well, it goes by both of them, but. On sheet 3, You will have 20-foot intervals on your contours, and your index contour, which we talked last time and we learned about that, I believe in chapter 7 or 8, one of those that we referenced for our last project. So what we're gonna do is every time we're gonna go through our elevation drawing, we're gonna put our little tick marks every time we come to a 20-foot interval. 500, 520, 540, 560, 580, 600. Any of those 20-foot intervals. So you're gonna go through, just like last time, you're gonna go horizontally and vertically throughout your drawing, putting those little tick marks, which will allow you to create that spline. Don't take what I put up there as an example of what your contour drawing would look like. I was not looking at my drawing, I was just putting some splines on there to represent it. So those first 3 sheets you've done before, similar, like I said, this one over here, sheet 3, your 20-foot intervals, your index, which we know is going to be a heavier line weight. I believe I told y'all 0.3 on your intermediate contours and 0.5 or 6 on your index contours. That's gonna be at your 100-foot intervals. Sheet 4, we'll talk a little bit more in depth next week. But sheet 4 is simply something I think they talk about in chapter 8. It is called a plan and profile. I do this on a daily basis on the drawings that I'm working on up there. I'll show a plan view on the top half of the page, which shows our ditch as it flows across there with our stationing, 1 plus 100, 1 plus 10, 1 plus 20, 30, 40. So I'll show that plan across the top of my drawing showing the stationing. And then on the bottom half of the drawing, that's where I show a profile of what the earth is doing. So on this drawing, they show you where the profile is going to be cut at. So what you're gonna do simply, if you wanna start working on this one, like I said, we'll talk a little bit more about it next week, let y'all get through and work on these first 3 sheets. But what you will do simply is whenever this one crosses a contour line, you'll have your little grid set up down here, little horizontal lines. Each one of those horizontal lines will be labeled with foot marks and I think 10-foot intervals. I'll check that in a minute. But after you lay that line out across there, you just simply carry that point down and put a dot where it hits that elevation. And then after you get through, you just go back and connect the dots to make that spline to see what the terrain would look like. A profile of that with this line that they show, with that profile line, what we're envisioning is if they cut right there and they remove this portion of the earth, what would that portion look like where it was cut off at? So that's how we get this little spline that we do down there. So we'll talk some more in detail info about that sheet 4. We'll talk a little bit more about it next week. If you want to start on it, you're more than welcome to. Something you'll notice up here, that on sheet 4, on that contour versus the sheet 3 contour, this one's a little bit smaller. That's not that we shrunk the property down, we just scaled it down smaller so that we could fit our profile below there. So that's why that one appears a little bit smaller up there. So any questions about sheets 1, 2, 3? Yeah.
I have a question about 4. Is there like a reference picture in the book for what it's kind of supposed to look like? That we can
Possibly.
continue to look at?
You can check through that chapter, you may see one.
Chapter 8.
I'll show you an example real quick though. Like I said, this is something that I do day in and day out at the drainage district. Actually, the last couple of days, I've been using feet, inches, and fractions on my drawing and putting dimensions on it. I've been doing a structural platform to go down by Highway 73. So this is my main drawing that I'm working off of. Here's my ditch. There's a lot more that goes with this that is not showing up due to being in AutoCAD versus the AutoCAD Civil 3D we use. I've got that aerial view that's behind it. I've got points just littered all across here, survey points that we took that outlay our elevations that the surveyors go out and do. Here's my profiles over here where I drew them. Here's my sections over here that I drew. Some cross sections that we drew similar to the profile that we drew. I brought these in from the propeller site. These blue ones that I'm clicking on right now, those were brought in from Propeller, which is where we do our drone flights with. We can bring profiles and sections in from there. This is one, you can't see it because it's all yellow, but that's one of them that I was working on today, was this drawing also. Over here I've got some details. Once again, the majority of the stuff on this one is not showing up due to being in AutoCAD versus the Civil 3D. But down here on the bottom, so you can see that I've got a total of 25 sheets on this one. On the current project, I don't know what the date of this one is. I think right now this project has 28 or 29 sheets on it. But I got into my plan and profiles down here on there's sheet 3 with my standard sections. I don't want to change my background color. I guess I will. Let me go ahead and do that real quick. So this is my plan and profile. I mean, this is my section sheet where I've got just some random sections throughout that ditch showing them what the cut of the ditch would look like. And then this next sheet is where I start the plan and profiles. So up here on the top half of the sheet, this is the plan view. This is, and once again, the aerial's not behind it. It would probably make it look a little bit better if it did. Maybe it's turned off. Yep, it's turned off. And it's not showing up though. Oh well. Got it turned on. Oh well. For whatever reason, the aerial isn't coming in. It was attached through called map import is the command. So we've got our ditch that's coming along. We've got LNBA canal right here. We actually have a big basin. And then down here on the bottom half of the page, what we do is we take that and we slice it right down the center of our ditch, which doesn't really apply on this one because the ditch is not there. Let me get outside that basin. So here's where our ditch starts. So we come out of this basin over here, and then we go through some boxes right here, some 10 by 10 by 22 foot long is the total length of the run. I think they're 4 and 6 foot boxes. And this hidden green line, that is the bottom of our ditch. This solid green line is the ditch top. This orangish color you see right here, this is our culverts and our riprap, our concrete approach and stuff for those boxes. And then down below here, what you've got is a line that represents the bottom of that ditch flowing across there. So this is, and you can see right here that I'm representing my boxes. I'm showing you the two 10 by 10 by 22 foot boxes. I've got flow lines on both sides of those boxes to let them know where to set it out in the field elevation wise. These are elevations. All of our elevations are based on sea level where I work at up there. So what I'm doing with these consistent plan and profile drawings is I'm showing them the bottom of the ditch, which is right here. It's not even like that. And then we've got the top of the ditch. Yeah, it's not even recognizing those objects. Some of them, that is, I guess. But those are, oh, it's just not lighting them up. Though this dark green one up here, once again, represents the top of the ditch. Down here at the bottom is the bottom or the toe of the ditch. So as I go through these sheets, you can see my stationing down here across the bottom. Once they get to 10 plus 0, 0, which is 1,000 feet from the start of the project, 11 plus 0, 0, that's 1,100 feet. But when we need to tell them to go place these boxes, we're not gonna tell them to drag a tape from the start of the ditch 1,000 feet down to get to where they need to set these boxes. We'll have the stationing, the surveyors go out and lay out the stationing, 10 plus 0, 11 plus 0, 12 plus 0, 0. They'll have those stakes out there, those laths out there laying out the stations. So all they have to do is measure from that station over a distance of 35 feet to get to the center of those boxes. So this plan and profile is similar to what you're doing. I'm taking a profile right down the center of that ditch, and I'm just like I'm cutting it in half right there. I'm cutting the earth right there, and I'm ignoring all the earth that is in front of it so that I can show the bottom of my ditch and the top of my ditch. As you go further through this project, you will see that this ditch continues on. Right now, we're at stationing 52 plus 00, 53. So this was a fairly long ditch, fairly long project. Here's the other end of it. Down here it's stationing 92 plus 00, 92 plus 73 to the end of it. So this was almost a 1,000-foot long ditch right here. It would have been impossible for me to expect them to measure from that end every time. So we do the stationing every 100 feet, which gives them a marker to say, okay, I need to come over here and set this one at station 92 plus 24. So they'll go find the stake over there that says station 92 plus 00, which is 9,200 feet, and they've only got to measure 24 feet from there to get to the center of the boxes. So on yours, you will not be showing the stationing on the side. That's similar to the, did that answer your question about the plan and profile though?
Yeah, so yeah.
It's a section of the earth, but it's called a profile. So sheets 1, 2, and 3, you need to have those ready when you get here so we can talk about and finish up the P&P, the plan and profile, before you leave class that day, next week. Any questions? How did I do?
Pretty good.
All right, that's it for tonight.
Do you have anything we're getting back tonight?
Probably.